Hey everybody, today on Flite Brothers I am going to check out the difference between the DAL T5040, the original one, and the T5040 version 2. Now the first thing I noticed is that they don't mark it any differently. I don't know how well you can see that, but the V2 just says T5040 on it, just like the V1 does. So the only way you can tell the difference is by the packaging. The V2 has V2 on the package, which is the newer version. I don't think they're even going to make the original ones anymore, but if you do happen to get a package that doesn't say V2, that means that you've got the first version of it. Now the V2s are supposedly better. The V1s had some trouble with people claiming that they broke easily, and they also were really lacking in thrust. The V2s so far have had great reviews, people saying the thrust is much better and they're not breaking as easily. But what's the difference? What did they really do here? Well, the first thing I noticed right off the bat is the stiffness. The version 1, the first version of the 5040 they made, seems to be a lot thicker. In fact, out of curiosity, so the blade is almost 1.58 millimeters thick on the V1s, on the first ones, and on the new ones, it's only about a millimeter thick. So already we can see that they've thinned out the blades a little bit. So that's making them a little more flexible and probably makes them bend and absorb the impact a little better, whereas the original ones were probably just snapping from the extra stiffness. It also looks like the hub on the V2 is just a little bit bigger than the hub on the original one. So let me take a look at that. It looks like the hub on the original is about 12.8 millimeters wide, and the hub on the V2 is about 13.4 millimeters. So they actually enlarged the hub just a little bit too to make the hub a little more solid, because I've heard that the hubs on the version 1s were actually blowing apart and breaking right at the hubs. So it seems like they've strengthened up the hub a little bit. And they also thinned out the blades so they're a little more flexible and they'll absorb impacts better and not snap like the V1s did. And the other thing that I think is a little bit different, if I look, so on the bottom is the first version and the V2's on the top. Let's see if we can, okay, well, yeah, you can see it pretty well there. If you can see, the scoop on the V2 on top there is so much more pronounced than on the V1. The first version of the 5040, a lot of people complained of the thrust and complained that the pitch wasn't quite there. And if you look, I'm trying to get it as straight on as I can, it looks like the V2 has a much bigger scoop in the blade there that's going to push a lot more air, whereas the original version, it looks like the pitch is a little lacking there and the scoop in the blade is lacking, and so it's gonna not move as much air and not give you as much thrust there. But I don't want you to just take my word for it. Let's throw it on the thrust stand and get an idea of how much different the thrust really is. First up, we have the DAL 5040 triprop, the first version. This is on a freshly charged Pyro Drone 1575C battery on an LD Power 2204 2300 kV motor. Here we go. So it looks like on the first one we pulled about 820 grams thrust max, and we pulled about 19 amps. So we're going to go ahead and switch to the V2 and see what difference it makes. Okay, we're now going to test out the 5040 V2 on the same setup. Here we go. As you can see, that one peaked right about 1,000 grams of thrust, and we also got about 25 amps. So significantly more amps, about 5 more amps pulled with the V2s, but at 200 grams more thrust. And that's a pretty significant difference. That's 800 grams total over all 4 motors on your quad. With a more powerful motor, the difference might even be more pronounced. So that is a pretty big difference between the 5040 V1s that I think are probably discontinued and not being made anymore, and the new DAL 5040 V2s. Hey, thanks for watching. I'm going to go ahead and get this prop off the thrust stand and get ready for some more thrust tests for another video that will be coming soon. But I would like to ask you to please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it. And we'll catch you next time.